Well, hello, dear ones. Greetings from the Center for Contemporary Mysticism. We have a nice group today here at St. Paul's. We've got another couple of dozen folks join us by live stream. So we're so glad to have you here. My name is Joe Irwin, and it's always a joy to gather back in person. You know, during the pandemic, we had lost a lot of our in-person time together, and so now we're trying to gradually add more. And we have several each year. We have another one coming up in a couple of months. So that's a real joy because it's so good to come together and create a sacred space, I think, that happens when we're in person that can't necessarily be duplicated over online. But we're still glad for those who are far away. We have some across the country who join us from their home, and so we're glad that you're here too. I have to take a point of personal privilege and say it's a joy to me to have my love of my life and my partner in crime back with us, Carol Irwin, after being away for 6 months in major back surgery and recovery, and she's back up and at 'em again, and it's a joy to have her back here. Plus, you see, if I have to kind of host these things, when I go home, if she's not here, I don't know what I did wrong. But it's good to have her back. Love you, babe. So today it's a pleasure, another pleasure, to introduce one of our own. CYNDI SMITH has been a part of the center from the very beginning. She's had several offices and done all sorts of things with the center and has really been and continues to be a blessing to the center. And since that time, she's written a couple of books, one of which she recently wrote, and we'll be talking about it today, and there's some here that you can see and look at and maybe purchase. Those of you who know CYNDI realize that she's just a wonderful person, just like any mom, grandmom, neighbor, person down the street, but at the same time, she's far more than that because she's also a psychic medium and has developed over most of her life a lot of gifts that really can let her communicate with a different level. And so she spent much of her life learning, I think, from the angels and the celestial level and communicating them to help others around her. And it's a real joy to have her here to talk more about that. And there's wonderful stories in the book you'll find. So what comes through the new book, especially important, I think, today, is that it gives hope for a new world, one that's different than what we're seeing today. And I kind of need that hope. And so it's an opportunity, I think, through her communication to see the possibility of a world built more on compassion and equality and love and the things that we all believe in and hope for. So you'll be hearing more about that. She'll be talking with Patricia, who kind of does our interview style programs. And for those who are new, if you need any facilities or restrooms, you just go back toward the front entrance to the other hallway, and you'll see those over there. And also, if you have any questions, you'll see people with a host badge. They can generally answer your questions. So lastly, remember that there will be a Q&A time afterwards. You'll have a chance to talk with CYNDI and Patricia and those of you at home. We will have a Q&A box on your live stream, and you can send us questions or comments or thoughts, and we will pass them on to our speaker throughout the program. So remember now to turn off your cell phones if you haven't done it, so they're not buzzing and distracting you, and you can focus on the space we're creating together. So it's a joy to have you all back together and to have CYNDI. And so at this time, we will turn it over to CYNDI and Patricia. So come on up, and I'll be back in a little bit.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe, and welcome everybody.
Yes.
And CYNDI, I've been looking forward to this conversation because we have known each other for several years.
Yes.
But it wasn't until I had the opportunity to read the manuscript for your book that I really understood the depth of your gifts as a psychic and a medium. And
Thank you.
so it was really such a joy to find out more about that, because you don't flaunt it. You're very quiet about it, but I did want to just talk with you about some of your experiences. And you talk about, as a child, I mean, you knew from what you wrote here, you knew that you were different, even as a young child. You knew that you were different.
Yes, I did.
And that you had these gifts, these psychic gifts. You could hear your guides and the angels, and so you were having these experiences. And you know, I've spoken with other people who've had those gifts, and they sort of assumed that everybody did until they realized, oh no, that's not the case. But in your case, you sensed that, not everybody has this ability, and it seems like it kind of, both in your childhood and your teenage years, there was kind of a sense of, I would say, aloneness, because you can't talk about it. You're having these experiences and you can't tell anybody, and your guides told you not to talk about it. So can you just share a little bit about what that was like to feel, to carry that by yourself?
Yeah, I did realize early on that I was different and that my experiences were not being had by others, by my parents or anybody else. And my guides and angels told me early on, just keep it to yourself. In time, you'll grow into it and you'll understand better how to use them. But you just need to give it time. You need to grow and understand more. And so I did. I just kept it to myself, and I really didn't say anything. So for a lot of time, most of my childhood, I didn't say anything to anybody. I kept it all to myself. And even though I knew things or understood things that others did not, it was just, I just kept it in because there wasn't anybody to share it with. Mm-hmm. So that was hard, yes.
And at what point were you able to let somebody know?
I think when I finally went to college, I finally felt like I was my own person and ready to open up a bit about it. And felt like I was my own person now and ready to be on my own. So therefore, I could start to explore that and open up that door to other people and share some of the experiences that I've had as a child.
Mm-hmm. And those experiences were, I mean, you would know about things before they happened.
I would know things about before they happened. I could read people very easily, their energy. I mean, they may say something, but I knew if it was real or not, or if it was truthful or not. I could always read people. I could read the energy of places. I still do that. You know, I very much pick up on energies. My near-death experience I had when I was 13, and I couldn't share that with anybody. So those all made it difficult. But that was just who I was and how I was, you know. And I came from a wonderful, loving family. It's not that I didn't have a loving family. My parents were wonderful. I had 2 younger brothers and an older sister, but they weren't ready to probably delve in with me any more than my parents. I don't know that they would have known what to do with me. So I kept it to me.
And your family did have, like, religion was part of the family. So
Yes.
It's not that spirituality was something like taboo, but this was like beyond, right? Beyond the belief system.
Yes, I'm not sure how my parents would have thought or what they would have said had I said, well, I talk to angels and guides, you know, at a young age. I don't think they would have been able to handle that real well. So yeah. I did. I kept it to myself, and it was probably for the best because that gave me the opportunity to grow into my gifts and to understand them better. And understand how I can use them better. It was too difficult as an early child to really use them and really understand them. It was too much. So.
Yeah. So would you, for those who haven't heard the story, share the NDE, the near-death experience that you had?
Yeah. So I was 13, and it was in the summertime, and one of my chores as a child was to trim the hedges in the back of our house. With the electric hedge clippers. And so I knew it was a Saturday morning and I wanted to get done because I wanted to go to the mall with my friends, my girlfriends. So I stretched out the cords, got them all ready, started in. And it was early, so there was dew on the ground. And I was in sandals, so I kicked them off. So I was running around in bare feet in the wet. And I'd gotten to the back and I was just about done. And I'd stopped to pull some branches off. And as I did, I caught the cord across the the clippers. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't looking at it. I was pulling the branches instead. So when I turned it on with my right hand, I was cutting the cord. And immediately, I was being filled with this electrical current up my arm and down my body and out my legs. I could just feel this over and over, this electrical coursing through me. And at that point, I thought, I'm going to die. And with that thought, I saw my life, you know, they say you see a life review. Well, you do. But nobody's there judging you. You're judging yourself because you see how your actions affected other people, and you feel that effect. So you're looking kind of as an observer, but you feel what they felt. If you did something good, you feel that. If you did something bad, you also feel that. So after the life review, I found myself standing in what I would consider like a hole, and I was looking at this bright green grass and this iridescent blue sky, nothing of which is here on earth. And I knew I was in heaven. And off in the distance, I could see these kind of vapor-like forms, and I knew they were other souls, but I was not close to them. And then everything stopped, and it was just a bright light. And that magnificent bright light filled me, literally filled me with love, a love that stayed with me for probably a couple of weeks, but this immense love was with me. And God said to me, he said, Cindy, turn it off with your left hand. And of course, with the 13-year-old brain, I'm thinking, if I touch it with my left hand, it's going to get stuck like my right hand was. So I didn't move it. But he did. He turned it off with my left hand. And I was immediately back in my body on earth. And all I could do was drop and scream. I don't remember a whole lot until later on that afternoon when I was up in my room, and it was crowded, although nobody was there but me, but it was jammed. There was angels, there was God. I mean, I could barely breathe. And I said to God, God, if you save me today, I need 3 wishes to prove that you were, it was really you. Typical 13-year-old. And I said, first thing is, I want to go see the Beatles in concert because I love the Beatles. They were the best, and I wanted to see them in concert. The other 2 wishes I'll keep to myself, but I made that pact. And later on that day, our neighbor brought the clippers in, and he showed me the clippers, and he showed me the cord. I had not cut it all the way through. It had stopped before I had all the way through. And he said, how were you able to turn it off? And I looked at my parents and my neighbor, and I said, he let me turn it off. But nobody asked who he was. They just assumed I've had a bad accident, and they let it go. And I got very used to that. You get used to just kind of hiding things. So I never pursued it any further. The next morning, I was downstairs, and my parents always got a newspaper. And I found myself paging through the newspaper, and usually the only thing I ever did in the newspaper was read the comics. But at the bottom of one of the pages, I found an ad for the Beatles concert, which was held at JFK Stadium. And I said, okay, that's it. I said, I know God did this. And I said, don't worry about the other 2 wishes, they're okay. So I was convinced. So we did go to the concert, and it was wonderful. And a couple years later, well, it was probably quite a while later, when Dr. Raymond Moody came out with his book, Life After Life, that was the first time I finally knew what had happened to me. I had a name for it. I had a near-death experience. And I realized lots of other people had had it too. So I had a name, and it gave me more purpose to try and understand more about not only that, but about myself as well, and my abilities. So that's my story.
Yeah, it's such a great story. I love the Beatles too. So what would you say have been the lasting effects of that experience? How has it changed you, or your orientation or understanding?
I guess the fact that I know that God exists, and I know where heaven is because I visited there, so I don't have any fear of death. I know where we go. That's been a big part of it, is just to know, hey, heaven's real. And, it's beautiful. It's home. This is really school. One of many, but this is really school. So that to me is something that I was able to take away from that experience, that I had a chance to kind of skip back home and remember it. And it stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you talk about is, you were able to see things before they would happen.
Yes.
And that, probably a lot of people think, oh, that would be so cool. But it's not always so cool, is it?
No.
Yeah.
It's very scary sometimes. I witnessed the Challenger accident before it happened. I was told that morning I was going to watch it. I was home, and I was being told by my angels, don't let the kids watch it. It's not for them to watch. And they showed me, when the Challenger was still on the platform, that there was a problem there, and that's where there was the issue. And yet it took off, and as we all know, it exploded up, was when it was up in the sky. So I didn't understand that part until much later when they came back and said that the problem was with the O-rings when it was still on the platform. And that's what they had showed me. But I felt so guilty because for like an hour ahead of time, I knew there was a problem. And yet I had no credentials to call NASA. NASA, you've got a problem. You can't let them go up. There's going to be I had nothing. And for an hour, I agonized whether I should call or not. But I didn't have anything to say except that this is wrong, you can't let them go. And after that, I really asked, I said, look, if I can't make a difference, if I can't stop something that's going to happen, I don't want to know about it, because it's too hard to carry. It's too hard for me to carry. I said, I will prevent anything I can, but if I can't do something, don't show it to me. Please, don't tell me about it. And they did. They've honored that. If I'm shown something, it's something I can prevent or stop. Otherwise, they've kept it from me. So they've honored me in that.
And then you talk about how they, as that gift was sort of,
taken
side off stage, there was another gift that arose.
Yes.
And tell us about Rose. A rose, but tell us about Rose showing up.
I had always been able to talk with family members and stuff that had passed, and I didn't think anything about that. But I was getting ready for school. It was probably early 90s, and I was the teacher at the schoolhouse in Flowertown, and I was the kindergarten teacher. So as I was getting ready for school one morning, all of a sudden I've got this voice in my head with this very strong-willed woman saying, "This is Rose." I'm thinking, I don't know Rose. I don't know anybody by the name of Rose. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going around the corner. I'm losing it. And so I just kind of stopped, and she says again, "This is Rose." And I'm like, okay, what can I do for you? And she proceeds to talk about one of the other teachers who was a friend of mine at the schoolhouse. Her name is Linda, and her son, Anthony, who was having a real hard time in math, and he had a big math test coming up, and she was saying he's going to be okay, and tell him not to worry, and it's going to be all right, and all this kind of stuff. And she went on and on about Anthony and his math test. So when I got to school, I grabbed Linda, and I said, "Do you know anybody by the name of Rose?" And she goes, "Yeah, my grandmother's name was Rose." And I said, "Okay, what kind of woman was she?" "Demanding, very tough. She was a tough cookie." And I'm like, okay, that fits. So I proceeded to tell her the story as far as talking with Rose that morning, and that Anthony was going to do okay in his math test, and she didn't have to worry. And so we got a good laugh out of it. But that was the first time that somebody who I had no connection with had come through and had talked to me. I've talked with lots of other people since, and each one is different. Sometimes I just feel their essence and kind of what they're like. Sometimes they show me something. I had a gentleman one time show me himself playing golf on a golf course, and his daughter said, "Yep, that's my dad. He never was off a golf course. He was always on the golf course." I had another one very recently where the man was standing there with all these flowers around him, and that's because he gave his friend flowers all the time. He loved flowers. So people will communicate in different ways. Sometimes it's through vision, sometimes it is through voice. It's whatever's comfortable for them. But yeah, but Rose was my first.
Yeah, I was interested when I was reading your book that your colleagues at the school, apparently, at least several of them, were quite open to this.
Yes. I use them as
which
guinea
is kind
pigs.
of remarkable. It's kind of remarkable. And did you have any hesitancy about like talking about this at first with them?
I did. I used to kind of feel out whether they were comfortable talking about it because I never wanted to cross over into something that, people were not comfortable with. But when I did get messages and stuff, I used to try and pass them on. And they were great because it was a way of kind of me practicing with them. And they were great as far as, being guinea pigs for me and stuff. So it was a good way. It was a win-win all the way around. So it worked out well. One in particular, I had done a reading, one of the younger gals that worked at the schoolhouse. She used to help out in the afternoons and stuff. I didn't know her particularly well, but she had asked if I would come over and do a reading for her sisters and mom and stuff one day. So I did. I went over, and she was the last one that I did a reading for. And when it came time, they were tough. They were saying, you need to listen to your parents, and you need to do this. It was nothing about boyfriends or anything. And they're going on and on. You've really got to make some decisions. There's some bad roads. You've got to make a choice because there's one way that's not going to end well. And on and on and on they went. And I left there, and I was angry. I'm like, what kind of a reading was this? Come on. She only wanted to know about boyfriends, and you're yelling at her about this, choice. It was terrible. I was very upset. Come to find out a couple of months later, she comes down early in the morning to my room and said, I just want you to know that I joined AA. And I said, I didn't know there was, she said, I have a real drinking problem. And she said, your reading actually helped push me to do something about it. And here I am. I'm I'm yelling about things, and I had no idea what was going on in the background, but they did. So I learned to sit back and not always judge what is being passed to me, but to just pass it because it's not mine. I don't know all of it. So I learned a valuable lesson that, yes, sometimes there is tough things that have to be said, and I'm not the one that makes that decision. So, yeah.
So you both have been a medium in terms of, people who've crossed over, who've transitioned out of their body, communicating with their loved ones through you.
Yes.
And then you also have done and do psychic readings for people, and in those situations, it's your guides who are speaking to them. Is that the way it works? I mean,
Yeah.
One of the questions I have is, what about the guides of the person who's having the reading done? Do they participate in it at all?
They do. I don't always know exactly who's talking as far as giving me information. A lot of times I'm assuming it's very much their guides and their angels because they're the ones that know them best. I turn it over to the divine realm. I usually say, whatever is needed, whatever messages need to get passed, please pass them. I'm the messenger. I'm the conduit. But I'm not the one that's delivering it. So if it's their guides or their angels, many times it's through them that I get the messages from. I don't always know exactly which one it is, but it's all from the divine realm. It's not mine to decide or judge.
Yeah. And have you always had that ability to just kind of step out of the way? I mean, and just let what's happening happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times I step back and just let them talk through me, and they just take over. I just step out of the way, and I've learned to do it better than I did then, to step back and just let them talk through me.
Yeah, so you're just in a state of allowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's just through practice. I've just done it all my life. So I've just been able to step back and let them, whatever is needed for that person at that time, that's what's to come through.
Yeah. And you've also had some experiences of seeing and experiencing past lives. And there was one really interesting experience you talked about when you were doing Reiki. And
Where's Ken?
Yeah, Ken's back there.
I did, Ken Class is a Reiki master, and Reiki is an ancient Japanese form of healing. So Ken had arranged for a Reiki share, which is where a bunch of people get together and we all take turns being on the table and basically receiving the energies from one another, from the universal energy, really. So it was probably 2015 or so, but anyway, there was enough people to do 2 tables, and Ken was at the same table I was, and he was the last one on the table to receive the energy. So as I was getting ready, as I did with each person, I always kind of closed my eyes and cleared and kind of got ready to do for the next person. And you don't have to put your hands on the person, you can put them above. And as I did that, all of a sudden I've got this picture of this Native American chief, and he introduces himself as White Cloud. And he's holding a white feather in his hand, and he's going back and forth. And he said, I want you to repeat this mantra as you work on Ken. I said, okay, so it's in native tongue, and he repeats it, and I repeat it in my head over and over again. And he says, as you do this, continue to repeat the mantra. So for the next 10, 15 minutes, I'm repeating this mantra in my head, although I have no idea what it means. So I start with Reiki, and as I close my eyes again, I am now in a whole different dimension. I am a Native American girl of about 12 years old. I'm sitting, it's evening, there's a fire, there's a Native American warrior who's in front of me who's either ill or hurt, I don't know which. White Cloud was off to my left, and he was instructing me, because he was also a shaman, he was instructing me how to heal and what to do and how to put my hands and how to help heal him. But I could feel the heat from the fire on my front, and I could feel the cool of the evening on my back. I could see the stars in the sky. In other words, I had tripped into a different dimension, a different lifetime. And so this went on back and forth the whole time I'm working on Ken. And I come to realize that the soul that is Ken was also the soul of the Native American person that I was working on. So here I had tripped into another lifetime that we have both shared as Native Americans. So this went on through the whole 10, 15 minutes that I'm working on Ken as we're going around the table. And as they came to an end, everything stopped. I couldn't repeat one word of what he had said before, of this mantra that I had said for the last 15 minutes, and everything stopped. But it was the most fascinating experience to be able to jump back into a different lifetime and to actually visit and see myself in a different time and place. I've always known that, time is like a 78 record. When you put it on the turntable, it depends where you put the needle, it depends on what song you're going to hear. Well, if you think of those songs at the lifetimes, that's exactly what we do. The needle's here and you're in this lifetime, but you can also jump to this lifetime. And that's what I was doing. I was jumping back and forth between lifetimes. It was fascinating. It was probably one of the most interesting experiences. And I did share it with Ken later. And then I went on the internet to see if there was an actual White Cloud chief, and there was. So it was kind of nice to have it verified that there actually was a White Cloud. But it was just a fascinating experience.
And that's such a great analogy of the record, because all the songs are there.
They're there.
They're all there.
Yeah.
So it just depends on which place you're tuning into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where's the needle?
Yeah, that's such a great analogy.
Yeah.
And you also, and I think, a lot of people understand that we have a lot of the people in our present lives are souls that we have known. That's a thing, right? That we reincarnate.
We do.
Yeah.
We travel in our same group, whether it's friends, family, work colleagues, from other groups such as this and stuff. We reincarnate over and over again. But each lifetime is a different role. We take a different, we've been male, female, straight, gay, we've been black, white, brown, yellow, red, we've been everything. We've been every religion, we've lived in different parts of the world. But again, this is just part of school. If you always came back as the same person, you would never continue to grow and to get educated. So each lifetime's taking a part in a play and saying, okay, this time I'm going to be a woman, and last time I was a man. So yes, we all trade different identities, different places that we've lived, but we do travel a lot in the same group, as I said, but just changing different roles. So yes, we do.
Yeah. And then there was another experience you had where the Archangel Gabriel asked you, would you like to see the future? Did you have any hesitancy given it to
No,
me?
I couldn't wait. I was like, yes, please. It was April of 2020. We all remember that lovely time. So the fear of the beginnings of the pandemic had just really set in. And I was meditating one morning, and Archangel Gabriel came to me, and he said, "Would you like to see the future?" And I'm going, "Of course, yes, please, take me there." So he took me ahead 25 years, and he showed me our world, which is magnificent. I can't wait to get there, to be quite honest. It is the most real thing that I felt, I guess the most intense thing I felt, is the calm and the peace that is waiting for us there. There's no angst, there's no stress, the anger's not here. That's all just gone. We work so closely together with other countries throughout the world as one. We share everything, knowledge, goods, food, everything, medicine, everything is shared and worked with together. Everything is renewable energy, which is lovely. We honor Earth, and a lot of the damage we've done has been reversed, so that's also nice to know. Our homes are hubs of technology, but we are not run by technology. In other words, it doesn't own us. So if you want to go to school in Switzerland or something, you can do that from your home. If you need to talk to a doctor in Peru, you can do that just from your home. It was just amazing to see what is waiting for us out there and what's coming. And as I said before, the most important thing that I felt was the calm and the peace, which was just so wonderful. It was just amazing. It gave me such hope for coming back. It's like, okay, there is something wonderful waiting for us if we just believe in it, and we can work our way to get there. So
Yeah, that's, I would guess that colors quite a bit how you perceive what we're going through right now, which isn't what you've just described.
No, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. But you can have that stance, and you know where all of this is headed.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Yes.
Yeah. And do the guides or the angels give you any information about how we can kind of hold space within ourselves for that emerging world?
To believe in it, to actually believe that we can get there, to not lose hope. This is temporary. As Archangel Gabriel once told me, he said, think of this time as like in the birthing canal. It's dark, it's scary, there's no light, there's pain. He said, that's where we're at right now. He said, but there is light, and it's coming. So that's what I hold on to. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. So yeah.
So in your early years, you were told not to talk about your experiences, but then more recently, your guides encouraged you to write this and to come forward with your experiences. Do you have any sense of why now, and do you have any sense of that?
I don't know, except that after Gabriel had came to me and took me forward, he then stayed with me pretty closely for the next 3 years or so, and he kept downloading information to me. And at first I didn't know what to do with it, and he said, I want you to share it. So I put it on Facebook for a while, and then he said, no, I want you to put it together in a book. But I was visited not just by Gabriel, but also by Mother Mary, by Jesus. So I took all of that, and that became the first book that I did, which was Gabriel's Messages. It was literally his messages that he wanted out there. And I said, okay, I can do that. And then when I finished his first book, he said, okay, now I want you to talk about your experiences. And I said, okay. I said, well, why? And he said, because people get afraid about strange experiences. He said, they don't know how to handle it. And he said, I don't want people to be afraid. So, since we really are spiritual beings, we are guided and gifted all the time, but we tend to ignore it. We tend to say, oh, it's luck. Oh, that really didn't happen. We push it off instead of taking it for what it is. There are no coincidences in this world or in this lifetime. Everything happens for a reason. So if you see that license plate with a word on it that has special meaning to you, or you hear that song that comes on the radio and it tells you something, pay attention to it. It's a gift. They're trying to communicate with you if you will just pay attention. The problem is most people don't. Doing readings all my life, I can't tell you how many people have said, I've never told anybody this. I didn't want anybody to think I'm strange. Thinking, well, that's my life. But people get very scared about things like that. And so he said, I want people to know that strange events are not uncommon and that you shouldn't be afraid. So I wrote the second book, which is basically my life, a lot of the strange happenings in my life, I should say. So that people would know that, that it's not something to be scared about.
So you have very naturally, I mean, these gifts have just been part of your experience always. And as you say in the book, we all have these capacities.
We do.
That are dormant or, latent in us. How can we open to them more fully?
The first is to not be afraid, I think, is first. To open that door and just say, okay, I'd like to make the connections. There's many ways. As I said, one is through signs. They give us signs all the time if we are open to them and ready to receive them. Second is, for me, the most easy way is to get comfortable and quiet and to meditate. But that doesn't come easy for everybody. So even if you just take a walk in nature, you get quiet. Sometimes when I do something, a mundane thing like vacuuming a rug that I've done 1,000,000 times, so you get into the kind of just zone out, even that becomes kind of a meditative state. You just need to find a way to get quiet and connect. There's plenty of meditations that can be guided meditations that are given online. There's plenty of ways of doing it. There's also many times information is given through dreams. Some people have very vivid dreams where information is downloaded. So it just depends. There's so many different avenues. I think it's just being open to things and paying attention more than anything else. And also, as I said, being willing, asking for the help. There are angels and guides with us all the time if we just are open to it and willing to talk and just willing to listen and say, I need some help or I need some guidance. I guarantee it will be there for you. I take mine shopping with me. I know that sounds very weird, but Christmas time, I'm looking for something for somebody. I need some help. I got to find this. And in a couple of seconds, I'll hear a name of a store or a place where I can get it. I'm like, okay, I'm off. And I guarantee it's there. It's like finding that parking space always out front. Again, it's there if you just listen. And you have to ask. You really do have to ask. They'll answer it if you ask.
So don't be afraid of these things and
Please
know
don't.
that they're not accidental. Take them, really be listening.
Yes.
And what you're doing also with sharing your story, and I think this is part of what they were telling you, is in a sense, by sharing this, and personally, I just want to say I love the writing because it's so clear, it's so clean, it's so unembellished. It's just like, this is what I experienced.
Yeah.
And so, for me as a reader of this, it normalizes this. Like, this is a normal human experience. And so for us to really accept that this is who we are if we open to it. And
Yes.
if we invite it and allow it and ask. And also, as you say, to ask. Because, we have free will and there's no angels, guides are not going to intervene without being invited, right?
You have to invite them. You have to ask.
Yeah.
I always say we have a lot of unemployed angels running around here because nobody talks to them, nobody asks. Mine get overtime. I work mine a lot, but there's a lot that we could just ask of them, and they so much want to help, but we just don't include them. We don't think about them. We hang an angel on a Christmas tree, and we think that's about it, but we don't consider them in our daily life. And my gifts are no more unique. Everybody has them. Everybody has the abilities. It's just that I've worked with mine for a lifetime. I've practiced. It's like anything else. If you sit down to the piano and play it every day, you get good. Well, I've worked with mine. That's the only reason and it comes a little easier to me. So I invite you to use them and put your angels to work.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Cindy. It's been
It's been a pleasure. Thank
really
you.
wonderful to
Thank you
speak
for
with you.
everybody being here.
And we're now going to have a Q&A time. So if any of you here in person or anyone online has a question, here you can just raise your hand and we'll have a traveling mic. Please wait until you get the mic so that the people online can hear your question.
Yeah.
And if you have a question and you're online, you can type that into the Q&A little window. If you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A thing you can click and you can type your question in, and Joe will read those off from his computer. So I will, maybe I'll step over here, and Ken, maybe you can, yeah, he'll travel. So
He'll travel.
Raise your hand if you have a question.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks
Hi.
for your talk.
You're welcome.
Is this working right? Hold it close. Okay. Can you talk about Mother Mary a little? She's been such a divisive figure in Christianity between the Catholics and the Protestants. What role do you see for her, and where do you think truth lies in terms of what her role should be?
Well, I'll have to tell you what I experienced from her during those years. When she came through, she sees herself as everybody's mother, all inclusive. That's her role, that's what she sees, and that's how she feels. She feels that you're all her children, we're all hers, and she loves us all dearly. She cares about us. There isn't anything that she doesn't worry about as a mother. So she sees us all encompassed. It doesn't matter what religion, that makes no difference. In her eyes, we are all her children, and that's how she sees us. She was a wonderful, strong, feminine force that came through when I met her, and it was a delight to be able to sit down and really speak with her and to hear her version. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how she came across to me. And it had a lot to do with just, believing in yourself and following through and, taking responsibility for who you are, but also knowing that you're always watched over and cared for and loved. You never walk alone. And she herself is definitely there for you, which, not being raised Catholic, I never kind of associated myself with Mother Mary, but it was just lovely to really meet her and get to know her in a different way than I ever had before. So it was delightful. Very, very wonderful. Yeah.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much. You really touched my heart today.
Oh, good.
I was curious if you've had any experience or communication with animals or pets. I've had a couple really special dogs in my life that lived a long life, and sometimes I feel their presence, and I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Oh, animals are pure love. There's just no other way around it. I know that they're all waiting for us. All of our pets are waiting for us up in heavens, and you'll be run over by them first before anybody gets to you. So they're all waiting in queue, so to speak. But they are just nothing but pure love, and I don't care what animal it is. I just think they're here for us to learn from and to realize that we are, as much a part of them as they are of us, and they need to be here to teach us and if we can, again, learn and step back and really learn from them as well. There's so much they can teach us. They're just phenomenal. There isn't any that I don't care about and love about. So get ready when you go up, you'll be run over by them all. They're waiting.
Thank you, Cindy. I know that I've heard you say that we all have the ability. We need to believe and to trust, and apparently you were able to believe and trust from a very young age. Do you ever intuit that gift in other people? So you meet somebody and right away they also have this gift?
Yes, sometimes I do. I can usually tell an old soul, which, like, one of my brothers is an old soul, and I know one of my grandsons is an old soul. It doesn't mean that they have definitely psychic abilities. It just opens the door for, probably a little more chance to have it. But it's also really a willingness to want to follow down that path. As I said, we all have the abilities, and especially children, young children, really can show it more, and then in time, if we don't squelch it, they can take it further. And I think that's why my angels and guides kind of held me back as a young child, because they didn't want it squelched. They wanted to let me grow with it. Because parents, no, there's nobody there, you're just making that up kind of thing. And it gets put down. But yes, there are times when I've met people and I can sense that they have something that either they haven't really developed yet or they don't want to develop yet. It's a choice. You don't have to develop it either. It is a choice. I know I've had these gifts in other lifetimes too. So.
Cindy, do you have any ideas on hell? Is there hell? And do we have to come back? I don't want to. I'm going to get DNR, do not return, tattooed all over myself.
I know, Joyce.
Thank you.
I'll answer that first. You do not have to come back. You have different choices to make. There are different avenues you can travel and discover once you're up there. We don't get around to sit around and just eat bonbons laying on a cloud. You do actually work up in heaven. There are jobs to do, so don't think you're just going to be sitting around. But there's plenty of other things to do. You don't have to come back right away or ever if you don't want to. That's up to you. As far as hell, no, there is no hell. This particular planet, this school, is probably as close to hell as you're ever going to get. This is one of the toughest places to ever come, and you get kudos for just being here. There's a lot easier schools to be than here. There are evil, those that carry evil within them, and there's plenty of them walking around this earth. There's probably more dark and, I'll say, gray entities that are on earth than anywhere else. But there isn't a particular place called hell, no. At least that's what I've been told to understand. Are there any other questions?
Thank you for your lovely presentation.
My pleasure.
My question is probably a little unique. As my husband mentioned, I had major surgery, and it was back surgery. And that was about 4 months ago now. Before that, I was having a lot of nighttime experiences where I would be out and I would be flying around and come back into my bed, and sometimes it was not a soft landing. Sometimes it was pretty hard landing, and I was like, I know I was out flying around. But since my surgery and my recovery and my rehab, I have had no experiences at all. And I started thinking about it the other day, and I wondered if it relates to all of the drugs that were put into my body, or if I haven't, and this is what I think you're going to say, let myself be really open to it, like put it in my mind that this is something I do want. But it's just very strange because it's so different for me, such a change.
First of all, we do travel at least 3 to 4 times a week. We go out of body because this is a very confining form for your soul. Your soul was never meant to be this confined, and it has to get out of Dodge and take a break for a while. So at least 3 to 4 times a week, you are out floating around in that's why you sleep so much, by the way, is so it can get out and it can travel. And you go to many places. You'll go back to heaven and visit those loved ones. You'll travel wherever you want. When you came down hard, it's the fact that you were coming back into consciousness before your soul had completely come back into your body. That's why you were feeling that discord, that disconnect there for a bit. You just hadn't quite made it back into the body totally before your consciousness was kicking back in as far as, I'm back in the body. So you just didn't travel quite fast enough to get back in sometimes. And so, yeah, sometimes it's a rough landing. As a young child, about 3 or 4, I used to be able to astro project at will. I used to be able to spin myself right out. and go wherever I wanted to go, whether it was down the shore to visit my grandmother's house or was it out in the cosmos and float around with the nebulas. I used to do it all. It was natural. I did it with ease. I can remember the spinning feeling. I can remember like the butterflies in my stomach, and zoom, I was out. And it's a very natural occurrence that we all do every couple of days, actually. As far as, I think you just don't remember at this point because your body is reallocating itself, and you may not remember or come in hard again, but we don't always remember coming back in. Usually when I sleep, most of the time, I don't have many dreams that I remember. I sleep like a log. I'm like out cold for 8 hours. So I don't remember coming back in. I can't spin myself back out like I used to. But a lot of people have very vivid dreams, and sometimes coming back in hard is very upsetting because sometimes they can't move and they think, I'm paralyzed. No, your soul just hasn't come into your body yet. You haven't reconnected. So I hope that answers your question. Good.
Hi, Cindy. So I had a dream where Mother Superior said to me, you need to start doing graduate work of the heart. And since then, I've been studying Mary Magdalene and Mary and the Divine Feminine. And as you can see, I've been doing paintings on the Divine Feminine. My question is, going forward 25 years, where is the feminine energy? Where is the feminine spirit?
Very strong. She's coming forward. We're marching forward. The balance is coming back, which is why there's such angst with some of our masculine folks, shall we say, that are having a difficulty giving up being in par with us, as opposed to, taking rule and wanting to run with being in charge of everything. So the feminine will come back, and it will be a much more equal balance. So we're getting there, slowly, but we're getting there.
It almost feels like, those Russian dolls within, like stacked within. Like when I'm meditating, it's like I have Tara, I have Mary Magdalene, I have, Anandamayi Ma, all like stacked in there. And I'm like, but I want to see them out there. I want to see their energies and their presences and their divine spirits in the universe. Yeah, I want to see it more out there. Right now I'm just seeing a lot of the masculine. Even this Pope said that, you can't be saved, so to speak, by the Mother Mary, only by Jesus. And that doesn't fly with me.
It will get balanced. We're getting there. Slowly. Up, there's one in the back here.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
My question to you is, when somebody passes away, do they, go to wherever they go and then on their next journey, or do they stay with us? And I ask because my father died a couple years ago. He was my favorite human, and I walked with him the last 4 years of his life. And I feel like he's probably hanging out with us right now. I feel him in my car. I feel him almost just as strong in this energy that he's in as I did when he was flesh and blood. I just can't grab him and squeeze him and hold him. So I'm wondering, does everybody just travel, or is he like, my daughter needs me? Like, I'm still going to walk with her. I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
When we pass over, we all go back home to heaven, which is lovely. And if you want to stay connected with others that are still on earth, you can do that. We have so much more abilities than what this human body provides. If we use so little of our abilities. So when I talked about bilocating and being in a different place, we can be in many places at one time if we learn how to do it. I'd like to go back and try it again, but I can't right now. So he's bilocating. Part of him is in heaven, part of him is with you. And what you feel is real. Yes, he is with you. That energy doesn't, just dissipate and disappear. we have part of ourself even up in heaven. Our whole energy, so to speak, does not fit in this body. We have a higher self that's part of ourselves up in heaven. And when we pass over and go back to heaven, we will reconnect and be whole again over there with that other piece of it. But he's very much with you. You don't have just to be in one place like we hear. So he can be in many places. And yes, he's with you.
Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
When you, when a spirit comes through to you, do they give you their name and who they belong to?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes,
they?
It's within if I'm doing a reading with somebody, I'm going to ask them if there's somebody in particular they want to contact. But it's not my choice to contact. The person who they want to contact has to be willing to come through. And it's, that's their determination. It's not mine. But
So if I wanted to contact a loved one, I would contact you and see if my loved one would come through?
possibly, or you can contact them yourself. There's nothing that separates you from the heaven.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure what she's saying.
Sometimes you have to get very quiet to hear, but yes, there's nothing that separates us from heaven. They hear everything. You send a prayer up, it's heard. I guarantee it. You send a request up, it's heard. There's nothing that stops, There's no filter needed.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Thank you. I connected with a lot of what you said and where you were when you were speaking about the white cloud. Was that? So about 40 years ago, I had done the Silva method. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of that. But I was able to use my abilities and learned that we all have them. It's just what we do with them. And I was able to use them then with meditation. I had seen myself as an Egyptian queen at one point when Liberace died. Before it was even out there, I saw them bringing him out. So I knew the abilities, and I also, when you talked about Reiki and what you did, this was done in the Silva, and I could kind of close my eyes and be guided to saying something about the person they were talking about, their loved ones. So I was just amazed at what we could do, and I'm wondering, and I know there's no coincidences.
No.
I absolutely believe that. I'm so happy to be here. And this is how connections have worked for me. And now I'm even more into getting back into being able to heal more, to be able to get. I have gotten my mother to kiss me in my dreams. I've had crazy dreams and brought people in, but I can't always do that, and I'd like to be able to, I guess, learn or tap into more of that.
My biggest suggestion would be just practice. Life gets in the way sometimes, and I've walked in two worlds my whole life, but I've had as normal a life as anybody else in many ways. I still go to the grocery store, I've raised children, So my life has been normal, but it hasn't been. And when I get out of sync or something, I find myself wanting to be quiet, usually peaceful somewhere, and I need to usually take a walk by myself to kind of reconnect and reopen those doors again. That's my best suggestion to anybody who really wants it. It's just, all the abilities are there. As I said, I don't have anything special. It's just I've used it a bit longer than probably most. So I hope that helps.
First off, it's wonderful to be back in the company of so many people with common intentions to be more conscious and aware. And I've been in this rodeo for 6 decades, and it's what I find here is like influences that I don't or haven't encountered as much on the paths that I've been on. So thank you for that. And what I keep wondering, because I'm pretty practical in the spiritual dimension, bringing it into my life. So I keep wondering what these beings and entities that you connect with, what they say about how to be in a world where there's lying, cheating, deceitfulness, cruelty, senseless death. And I can work with it within myself, and yet, and I can share with others and be part of the collective movement of higher consciousness. And yet I still wonder what they say in a more specific way about how or what to do in daily life to make a bigger difference in our collective movement of higher consciousness.
As difficult as it is sometimes to be here right now, I know we all chose to be here, number one. So understand that you made a decision to be here at this time, to watch this change happen. I
feel like I'm not just watching, but I'm actually a movement.
We are.
with it.
We're all
Yeah.
we're all a part of it. And as difficult as sometimes people are, there are also fabulous people out there. And we don't have all the answers because we don't have all the information. When things get difficult to understand, I usually I put it up there knowing that I don't have all the information that's needed for the reasons why this happened, what's the purpose of it all. It hasn't been revealed to me. So until it all is unraveled and revealed, I can't make a decision on why it's all happening. Why does evil happen? Why does, why is there so much that we don't agree with maybe happening in this moment in time? And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying we don't have all the information. We're not the ones in charge. The only thing I can do is to try and stay as positive and as being a beacon of light as I can, not only for others around me, but for myself to get through. And that's my only answer that I can really give. There isn't any magic, there isn't anything I can say, because we're working on a puzzle without a picture. We don't have all the pieces.
But we do kind of have a picture.
We have some of it, but we don't know all the reasons for
yes,
things.
I agree with that.
So that's what makes it difficult. We're trying to answer something that we don't have all the reasons for, the reasons why things happened the way they did. There's always a reason for it, but we don't know it. So I will tell you this, though, death is never by accident. When you write your life history before you ever even step foot or take a breath here on earth, you've written a very detailed life for yourself. And you put in at least 3 to 4 exit points. And then when the time comes, you choose which one you're going to take. It's not by accident. It's never by accident. So when somebody leaves, it's their choice. So if you can step back and look at something and think of it that way and realize somebody did it to make a choice, to be an example for others, to show something, to do, whatever the reason was, they took that chance and they took that exit point to make that statement. Look at it and turn it and look at it from a different direction, and you'll see it in a different light. That might help.
It does, and yet I take it always back to myself and who I'm being, and even where I'm hiding out myself. And and to be just more conscious and aware about myself, the choices I make, the actions that I take, and where I've been hiding out, and to really share and be as authentic and honest with myself and with whoever I'm with, whether I'm in a teaching situation or just, hanging out on a trail, hiking with a friend, or with my grandkids. So I must say that when I first heard that you had seen this vision of 25 years into the future, and now I'm like, oh, it's only 20 more.
And it's only 20 more years, we'll get there. We're gonna get there.
Could I please live long enough and more to enjoy and experience that here? So there is, it's like I don't have to understand and know it all, but I do have, I guess, faith and trust in my higher self and in the growing collective of who we are, who are together on a path of uplifting and higher consciousness. And so, again, I'm pleased and grateful to be with you.
Thanks. Joyce?
I had my near-death experience 11/11, 2008, which I think was significant with 11/11. And I don't remember the colors in the tunnel and things like that, but things did change. I remember when I was sleeping, supposedly dreaming, I was told, when you're talking about death, that we have it backwards. We mourn death and we celebrate birth, but it's actually the opposite, because that soul is coming down from pure love and joy to this crap. I'm sorry. But you're in a womb for 9 months in dark, solitary confinement, basically. Then you go through this little canal, and it's downhill from there. You get some good times, but it's tough. You have to work for them. And death, we go to a beautiful tunnel and light and joy and happiness. And yet so many people are so afraid. In February of 2024, the doctors were surprised I made it. But I wasn't afraid at all. The doctor's like, I says, I need anesthesia for this thrombectomy. And he's like, I'm sorry, you will die if we give it to you. I says, I'm all in, doc. I'm all in. I says, that's your problem. DNR, I had to have my lawyer come up because they, kept on, well, just give you chest compression. I don't want chest, read my blue lips. I don't want chest compressions, DNR. And I had to write it all over the thing that the nurse, I had to throw a cup at her. It was tough. Also, I heard that we're going from the Aquarian age, which is masculine, to we're going from the Piscean age, which is masculine, to the Aquarian age, which is feminine. More feminine cooperation rather than control and things like that.
Yes.
And I remember John Edwards, I read his book like 20-some years ago. He was a medium on television. And he predicted, he says, all the institutions will crumble. And that's what's happening. Law enforcement, healthcare, economy, government, it's all crumbling. But that's a good thing because it has to die in order to rise from the ashes, for things that will support all people rather than the 1%. So that's what I'm just keeping my eyes on the prize.
That's right. Yeah. That'll help keep you there.
And it was so helpful to see you a couple months ago at the McCafferty. We almost banged into each other's.
We did. You did,
shopping carts.
Yes.
So, thank you. And I just felt one also, after my experience, I felt like I just wanted to give to people. And I just felt at so much peace. So that was kind of a neat experience. As I said, I don't remember. And I think in puns, I hit my right frontal
Lobe.
brain or whatever. And I didn't know this. A few years ago on April Fool's, somebody told me, I have Witzelsucht. I always think in puns. People are like, how do you do this? I says, how do I not do this? I says, I just always think in puns. And it's actually a
Medical thing.
Witzelsucht.
How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. And I was cured of asthma by a minister, and I felt the angel, the heat, and the dizziness, and it was amazing. And the next day, they said, throw away your Advair and your nebulizer and everything. So now I have to tell the doctors, this says that you have severe asthma. Your lungs are clearer. I says, yeah, an angel.
Thank you, Joyce. Okay.
Do you see an apocalyptic event in our future before that lovely 20 years?
I don't see an apocalyptic event. I think it will just gradually, we'll see changes that will happen, and things will change. Some will crumble, new things will be built. It will be a continuous change. But it will. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. So thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
Well, Cindy, thank you. Thank you for all of your wonderful questions.
Yes, thank you.
And she has some books for sale over here.
If anybody's interested. Yep.
So you can be over here, Cindy, to sign them if people would
I
like
guess I
to
can
buy
turn this
them.
off.
Right? And Joe, do you have any announcements or anything?
Okay.
Well,
So I guess
to
I can turn
everybody
this off.
online, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you visit our website, contemporarymysticism.org, to find out about our future programs. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And Cindy will be over at the table with books you can purchase, and she'll be able to answer more questions if you like. So thanks so much for coming. It's wonderful.